All right, by popular demand, I was asked to start a podcast. This is going to be episode one, part one, because I am going to have to do a part two. I have realized this app that I'm using to create the podcast only allows my videos to be about 10 minutes long each. So, I'm going to have to do a part one and part two of the beginning. I had a fellow on social media that asked me to do the beginning before I was a first responder, before I was a Christian, before any social media popularity whatsoever. That way people know who the real me is from before I was a Christian. And we're going to build this thing up all the way up until I am a Christian and what I have going on today. So we're going to start with my birthplace. So I was born in a little town in Mississippi, right outside of Grenada. It was called Winona, Mississippi. That's where I was born. We lived in Duck Hill, Grenada, Winona area until I was about 8 or 9. Moved to Oxford. I think I might have been in second grade, something like that. And we moved into a community called Pine Flat. That is a little community that's in between Oxford, Mississippi, and Water Valley, Mississippi. Right in between there, 7-9 split area is what we call it, is Pine Flat. And in that community, it was a bunch of little kids my age, and we were just little hoodlums. I mean, I'm gonna call it what it was. We were little hoodlums. You hear me? Like we went around terrorizing the neighborhood. We all had 4-wheelers or 3-wheelers or something to ride on, and we went around terrorizing the neighborhood. What I mean by that, when we were younger, like real young, 9, 10, 11 years old, we would catch snakes and put them in our neighbors' mailboxes. We would blow them up with fireworks. We would paint the street signs and things like that. Heck, we even stole some street signs, hung them up in our bedroom, that sort of thing. Like we were bad little punk kids. Now, did our parents know we were doing all that? No, they caught wind and heard here and there small things that we've done, but we kept most of it under wraps. And by the time we were 13, 14, we called ourselves the Pine Flat Posse. We were a gang. We thought we were legit a gang. We talked like gangs. We learned gang signs. Man, we were, not me, because my drug of choice was beer, but my buddies who were in that gang, quote unquote, they started experimenting with marijuana and doing whippets. Man, that whippets that you put in a balloon and you huff it and all that stuff. That we were doing all that. And I'm talking about at a young age. I'm talking 12, 13 years old, young age. And I dipped snuff, man. I smoked cigarettes, but again, my drug of choice was beer, hands down. I remember stealing beer from my parents. I remember stealing beer from my friends' parents. I'd go to their cooler and their refrigerator and stuff, and just any which way I could get beer was my thing. Cigarettes. So my mom smoked, and back then, we had a little country store down the road that we could ride our 4-wheelers to, or walk to for that matter, and back then we're talking in the early 90s. I mean, it was a small knit community, and the store owner knew my parents, knew my mom, knew what brand of cigarettes she smoked. So I could go in that store and say, these are from my mama, and I wouldn't even have to tell them what kind they were. But I tell you what, they were Virginia Slim Ultra Light Menthol 100s is what she smoked. And I remember that because of going to the store and buying them for her so much on our little 4-wheeler so she wouldn't have to leave the house. And so we would go down there to that store, and the store owner would just, that's what we had to smoke because that's what he'd sell us. If we asked for any other brand, he was like, oh, who was this for? Anyway, so we were smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, dipping snuff. I mean, just bad little kids. And so if you fast forward just a little bit, when I hit, I don't know, 16, 17 years old, I started dating my now wife. She was my girlfriend then, obviously. Um, and we just hit it off. I just fell head over heels for this girl. Just loved her to death. Loved her family. Her family didn't like me at first, obviously, because I was a little punk kid. I worked a little construction work job, making like $8, $9 an hour. Had a little truck. By then, it was a Dodge Dakota Sport. I think it was a 93 or 94 model. Long wheelbase, single cab, just a piece of junk. And it was set up like this because I had big oversized mud grip tires on the back and I had street tires on the front. So it's set up like this. I mean, just a little typical punk kid that you could imagine. Anyway, so by the time I was 17, I got arrested for DUI. I drank beer so much. I failed my senior year of high school. My wife saved me on that one. She told me that she was not going to be married to anybody who dropped out of high school. So I went back to high school so that I could keep my wife, girlfriend at the time, I keep my girlfriend, keep her happy. So I had 2 senior years. Um, Man, it was just growing up as a kid and a teenager and everything. It really was just a disaster. I mean, for me, I know my mom's not going to want to hear that I thought like this or think like this because I mean we were poor. You know, I can remember my mama working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep us happy, keep clothes on our back, food on the table, roof over our head. Um, Back then my mom was not the Christian lady she is today either. So she was making bad decisions. She was drinking on the weekends, just about every weekend. Thus how I got most of my beer. I'd steal it from my mama, or my stepdad, whatever. But I grew up, even with all that, I loved the outdoors. I mean, I loved it, loved it, loved it. I fished every chance I got. I hunted every chance I got. And I had to teach myself. None of my stepdads hunted or fished or anything. So I had to teach myself. Everything I know about the outdoors today, I taught myself. All the fishing, all the hunting. I mean, if you follow me on YouTube, I put hunting and fishing videos up on there. Um, Anyways, so the outdoors kind of helped calm me down, as far as making bad decisions and doing things I shouldn't do. But the beginning for me, before any kind of popularity, Christian, first responder, social media, any of that, was just not good. Poor, thought I was a thug, experimenting with alcohol, that kind of thing. Went to every party I could find. Again, failed my senior year. I tell you why I failed my senior year. That's because I had a buddy of mine that he would go to the strip club. We had fake IDs, and he would go to the strip club, gentlemen's club, if you want to call it that, in Memphis. We called it the Purple Church because the building was purple, so we called it the Purple Church, man. And I'm talking every weekend, me and him went. Some during the week, we'd go to school, hungover, couldn't do our work, stuff like that, and thus I felt my senior year of high school. Partying, man. I mean, the fake IDs, the whole nine. I was just not a good person. Um, so that being said, I finally got out of high school, joined the Marine Corps. One of the best things that ever happened to me, because I went 3 tours overseas. It really helped me grow up and be more of a man. Okay, it helped me mature a lot. I mean, you talking a 19, 20-year-old little punk kid that was over a squad in Iraq getting shot at. Okay, I had 12 guys under me, and we literally had to have each other's six. So I had to grow up from little punk kid that failed my senior year of high school, DUI at 17, that sort of thing, all the way up to I had to be a man, being overseas, being shot at. So I had to grow up really, really quick with that, and that helped me so much learn about the world. And like, man, I'm just a screw up is what I am. And I ran into this boy, a man that was the first experience I've had with a Christian person, that I was able to talk to a Christian person and start my road towards Christianity. It didn't happen right off the bat, and I didn't know what was happening at the time. But I was attracted to him because he didn't want to go out in town and party and stuff like the rest of us did on our liberty. He wanted to stay back at the barracks. He would read his Bible. He would watch family-friendly movies and things like that to occupy his time. And so I was attracted to him for that reason. I was like, man, this dude is different, but he's happy. He don't go out and do all the things we do, but he's just as happy as we are, or happier. I got to find out what this is. And so anyways, hopefully I can bring him on one of the podcasts and get him to tell his side of the story, him talking to me and looking at me from an outsider in, and see where it all goes. Before I end episode 1, I want to tell y'all where the name Keep It Soggy came from. So my late father-in-law, me and him became absolute best friends while me and my wife were just dating before we got married. And his favorite movie was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, with the Soggy Bottom Boys. Well, during that time, I started making turkey calls, and I took him my first one ever, and he looked at it and he said, man, how cool would it be to start a turkey call business and call it Keep It Soggy? Thus the name Keep It Soggy. So now I use that for everything. I got this podcast, my name on TikTok, that sort of thing. I use Keep It Soggy. So that's where the name came from, if y'all were wondering. And that is going to end it for part 1, the beginning. And if you have any questions or anything, please ask. Y'all share this, follow it. Y'all keep in contact with the podcast, and we're going to keep this thing growing. God bless y'all.